Good evening. It is Monday, August the 5th, a cool and cloudy August evening here on the North Coast. Welcome to the Civic Union. It's a collaboration between the Department of Communication Studies at Cal Poly Humboldt and KZZH Community Media, uniting the people of Humboldt County with their elected representative processes and community helpers. I'm your host, Dr. Aaron Donaldson. As always, we'd love to hear from you. You can call us or text us tonight in the studio. We're here at the College of the Redwoods. The number is 707-498-4146. Again, 707-498-4146. You can send us a text message. Send us your thoughts. We'll do our best to read and engage those live and on the air. You can also drop us an email to thecivicunion@gmail.com. We will read and respond to appropriate emails on the air. Maybe you know someone representing your community that we could profile on our show. Give it a try. That's the Civic Union, all one word, @gmail.com. Today, we're talking to the board president and founding member of the Humboldt Library Foundation, Elizabeth Murguia. She resides in Eureka and was recipient of the distinguished Helen Everett Award in 2006, recognizing 25 years of work on behalf of the public library. She also currently sits now on the California State Library Services Board. Liz, thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight, and welcome to the Civic Union.
Well, thank you, Nate, and thank you for inviting me to come on and talk about the Humboldt Library Foundation. That's always a favorite subject. We appreciate it.
Nate Dogg's the producer, and we love to have him. I'm Aaron. It just lights up on his name when I speak. So
that's okay. Could I make one correction?
Oh, yes, please.
In the introduction, thank you. I have stepped back from being the president of the board, and the current president of the board is Allison Talbot. So,
very cool. I think I did have former on there for some reason. It's not there now, but that's a good correction. I want to get that one right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, in all cases, welcome to the show. We typically start just by getting to know our guest a little bit. And I was wondering if we could start just by having you tell us how long you've lived in Humboldt County and what brought you here.
Well, I moved to Humboldt County in 1975, and I came here to actually take a job with a former state representative. He was then the Assemblyman, Barry Keene, and I came here to work and run his district office. So that long ago.
So it was kind of politics that brought you here in the first place. Was it
Absolutely
any particular issues that were on the radar? Was libraries at all among that, or did that come later?
We got to libraries. Of course, I came as a young single mom and took this job and was running the district office and in charge of both Humboldt and Del Norte County were my areas of responsibility. But one of the first things I did, of course, was check out the public library. Where is it? And I was astounded to see that it was actually in the basement of the courthouse in 1975. And then I began to ask questions and met with different people, and because I was very interested in what was happening, and there was a plan to build a new public library at that time, and it would be what we now call the main branch in Eureka. So I just got involved really even then when I was working, but also just as a volunteer in the community, and was appointed, I think, by the mayor of Eureka to actually a committee that was getting together to raise funds to build that main branch.
That's very cool. From the basement of the courthouse to the waterfront there in Eureka. I was on the Mattakit tour a week or so ago, and you just cannot miss the library on that tour.
Isn't it fabulous? I think it speaks so much to the values of our community. We value an institution, a public institution, the library, in that way.
It's a real jewel of a space. It's got great windows. It's got great park space. It's large. The Arcata one, we're going to get to that one too. That's where we go. I'm
happy to talk about that. Yes, go ahead.
It says that you were one of the founding, if not the founding members of the Library Foundation. How long have you been working with it, and how did that all get started?
Well, it really came out. We've organized. I was one of the co-founders. A couple of us had this idea. It was in 1996, and it was a year after the main branch opened in 1995. And it came out, a group of us had been working, as I mentioned earlier. There was quite a community effort to raise funds to build the main branch, which had gone on for many, many years. And that was such an achievement. But what I certainly figured out, and others during that campaign to raise funds for the main branch, is that there was a lot of support for the library here. And in fact, the day we opened the doors at that library, it was huge. People swarmed, 5,000, if you can believe it, came. The doors were open. It was just amazing. People were so thrilled, so excited, to have this finally open and be available. But so it was after that, it just seemed to me that there was an opportunity to form an organization where you could raise funds to support or to enhance the programs and services at the library. It was not to supplant public funding, but to enhance it. And so we launched it with that idea. There's the Friends of the Redwood Libraries, which is a different kind of organization. A lot of the Friends organizations support all the branches, but we decided there was room for a foundation then to try to build an endowment to provide funds in perpetuity.
One of the things we try to do here on the show is to get listeners to like imagine themselves getting more involved, reaching out with the things that they like and participating in more meaningful ways. It's not something everybody does. What prompted you to decide that this was something that you were going to do with your time? I can't imagine there was like a big paycheck involved.
Oh
Typically,
dear.
when we talk to the people on this show, they're like, I don't get paid at all, or I get paid tens of
Oh, well,
dollars.
no, I've never. Are
So,
you kidding? I've
what,
never been paid.
yeah,
This has all been for the love of it. Yeah.
what
Oh, no,
was,
that's
what
funny.
prompted that for you?
Well, I just had this passion about wanting, I just thought it was a great idea and that we needed a library. And there was a huge challenge. The funding was a huge challenge. And as I said, initially with the LCAC, it was to raise funds. We actually, my former employer, State Senator Barry Keene, actually carried a statewide bond act, the first in the state. And Humboldt County was a recipient of bond act funds, which helped build that main branch. So that's a big long history, but those years from 1979 up to 1995 when we first threw open the doors, I was certainly engaged throughout that entire period. And then of course taking a year off and then starting up again, I don't mind fundraising for something I care deeply about, and there are many people who are really willing to give when they support a cause, and that was here. So um, that's what inspired me to do it. My friends and family can tell you I've been a little bit obsessed over the years, but
Some of us
just a
just
little.
have that type of personality where we just like to be involved, and maybe
Yeah, indeed.
that's
Well,
where
it
I'm at.
has its own rewards.
I think so
Yeah,
too. Was the you
but
said
it's
the
odd. I've
fundraising
thought,
part?
oh,
Oh,
go ahead.
I was just gonna follow up on the fundraising aspect of it. Calling people asking for money, that's kind of tricky, but you say that that's not really a hard thing for you. Do you stick with people you know, with organizations or connections you've made?
Well, I guess we should talk about the Library Foundation Board. We have 13 members and we're
Yeah.
a very hardworking board and we all help in the fundraising. And we have many different programs and ways in which that we raise funds throughout the years. But it does require being able to pick up the phone, I guess, and to make that call. But I found it can be intimidating for people. On the other hand, if you really care about something, and it's pretty easy to ask, and it's actually easy for people to say no. And we've built supporters over the years. It's taken a long time, but we've been successful that way. Um, so one of the things I learned when we were raising for to the building fund is that we were selling, mugs for $5 or, all the raffle tickets for $1. And to my way of thinking, it's just as easy to ask for more money. To tell the truth, that it's really there. So it's a way to figure out how to spend your resources, your time, which is a huge resource. And people want to give. I found people really do want to be supportive and want to be part of the team. So it's pretty easy that way.
I think it's really great that there's a range of fundraising opportunities that you're talking about. We were just hiring an executive director here at Access Humboldt, and I was interviewing one of the people, and she said that it's important to know that you can't just ask for $50. You can ask for $100. You can ask for $1,000, and people will say no frequently, but sometimes they'll say yes, and then you got $1,000, and that's, it's pretty
Exactly.
exciting. So
No, it is just as easy. That's right. Yeah, I think that's very good advice for
this is
sure.
This is KZZH 96.7 FM, and you're listening to the Civic Union. We're talking to the former board president and one of the founding board members of the Humboldt Library Foundation, Elizabeth Murguia. Um, this is a big question. Why are libraries in general so important to you?
To me,
Yeah.
well, I guess I remember my first library card and using a bookmobile. I grew up in Mendocino County, just in Laytonville. We didn't have a branch library. So that first library card and being able to access those books, this room full of books, a bus full of books, was pretty exciting. Um, I find it's usually you have this personal feeling about it. Um, but I think libraries, these are the things that connect all of us. They connect the world. They connect us in the human experience. Alexandria in ancient times was a great library. We have always wanted Humans want to collect their stories, their narrative. We want to share knowledge. Um, that's a very powerful thing to think about, for sure. And then there's just the idea, because you don't really know, all the work I've done over the years. What does it really matter? Why do I care so much? And you think it's just that idea that someone is going to walk into the library, some young kid, some adult, someone, a first learner is going to be inspired. Be curious, be inspired, and it will open a world. And so, that's what compels me the most, I think.
I love this answer. My wife grew up in a very small town in Canada, and the bookmobile was just essential for her for reading. And she grew up reading mysteries. And I was looking at your 25th anniversary letter that you sent me, and you talk about how diving into a good mystery is one of the things that the library offers people. And
Oh,
to,
exactly.
to this day, she still picks up, typically bad mysteries. I'm hearing it's hard to find good ones, but she'll read them anyway.
Well, the Humboldt County Library has a very extensive collection of mysteries because one of our former late co-founders, Sally Upodising, much beloved in the library community, her husband established a fund in Sally's name within our Humboldt Library Foundation, and which is what we call a donor advised fund. And it's the Sally Upodising Mystery Fund. And we send money every year to the library specifically to build up their mystery collection. And it's quite healthy and will continue to be quite healthy. So you can assure your wife and others who are mystery readers that we have a well endowed mystery collection.
The Humboldt Library Foundation is all one word. HumboldtLibraryFoundation.org is the webpage. I would imagine that's the best place for people to go to learn more about how to make those kinds of contributions. Is that fair to say?
That is absolutely correct. Yes, we
Nice.
have a donate button right on the front page.
Very cool. It also gives you a P.O. Box 440 there in Eureka, California, and a phone number 707-269-1991 if you want to call the Humboldt Library Foundation. And you just gave us a great segue to this next question. Apparently, we have really, really great mysteries. What else makes our libraries here in Humboldt County like uniquely special to you?
Well, first of all, I think for people to understand that it is system wide and county wide, that there's the main branch in Eureka, and then there are 10 branch libraries. And then we have a bookmobile, which serves, well, I thought it was 14 outlying communities, but I think that number's changed a little bit. But there is a bookmobile that actually, reaches Orleans, it goes to Shelter Cove, it goes out to Petrolia, to Bridgeville. So, the bookmobile goes out as well to reach people. And also that, with the online catalog, no matter where you are, you can go on, you can search for a material that you'd like. If you want a book, you can reserve it and it will be delivered to your branch. Or even if you're out in the hinterlands, the bookmobile librarian will deliver it to you. So that's great, that we have so many branches for sure. Also, through the library, you have access to so many databases. You can use a library for genealogy research. There's for languages. There's Libby for electronic books, ebooks we call them. Yeah. Um, And there's a lot of programming going on right now at the library. It seems like we've had a burst of energy with in the last couple of years with new young hires, and it's been very exciting. I think at last count, there's something like 11 book clubs, and there's a Lego club, a chess club. There's a story hour in every branch library.
Yeah, I would like to pop in right there to just say that we have a 7-year-old at home, and for the first at least 6 years, definitely still now, he's reading more at home. But those first early years, just the story hour at the Arcata Public Library was a total lifesaver for us. He just was infatuated with hearing the stories. He would sit there and listen, and a bunch of kids would be tumbling around, making noise, just everyone having a good time there. And as a parent, it just meant everything in the world to me to have somewhere that was indoors, so that we wouldn't get just
Absolutely.
rained on the whole time. That was free. It didn't cost a whole lot of
Free.
money because I'm a teacher and my wife runs her own business, and we just can't afford movie tickets all the time. And more importantly, that there's something deeply human about sharing stories. I'm a
Mhm.
communication professor, and I think being in a room with a human reading a story to another person is just very special. And
It is a wonderful experience for sure.
yeah.
Um, yes,
We
I
hear
had
the
a thought
the
there.
oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. If you remember it, you can throw it in. The phrase we hear thrown around a lot is like library deserts, like rural communities especially really struggle. And I think that that's really a big reason why our library system is so important. Why you would see 5,000 people showing up, because
Mhm.
when you're way out here on the North Coast, it can be hard to find these kinds of resources.
Well, the good news, maybe you don't know this, it's kind of a staggering number, I think. We have 120,000 active library card holders in this county. That is a lot.
Wow.
Roughly 17,000 of which are kids 0 to 18.
Yeah, that's very
So
cool.
yeah, and also, of course, during COVID at the library, things collapsed. They did a great job about getting books out, and you could drive up and they would bring your books out, and it was all very complicated. But certainly circulation dropped off, although ebooks and electronic services really went just skyrocketed. And, it was actually a very good thing. The library was able to really increase those kinds of services for patrons following the pandemic. Um, but now circulation is just climbing back up and exceeding pre-pandemic levels. So that is really good to see. But you talk about it being good for families. And over the years, we have seen, especially when there's a downturn in the economy, library usage goes up. People get it. It is free, you own it.
Yeah.
Um, I have always said that, it's like the state park or the national park. It's yours. You own it. That's what it means to have a collective, to all participate in this together.
Yeah, 120,000 card holders. My producer Nate Dogg here is estimating that that's probably more than the number of people that vote in the county. We're typically
Yeah,
talking to
probably. Yeah.
politicians.
Well, it includes kids 0
It's
to
true,
18.
17,000 kids 0 to 18, they can't vote. So you could shave
Yeah.
those numbers off. But I still think the numbers are staggering, and it makes me happy that that many people read. I just wish they would also vote. And that's a
Yeah.
whole other
Wouldn't that
show.
be another show we might have? Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, getting back
but
to the value, I actually
please.
asked the county librarian just today. I chatted with Chris Cooper, who's terrific. And I wondered, because I remember back in the day when we were raising money for the main building, I used to talk with people about the value of what you already own. So he gave me some numbers. And right now, the county library has roughly 300 plus thousand volumes in its collection. And if you value it out, pencil it out, that's about 12.4 million dollars worth of
Wow.
materials that you have at your disposal. You own it, I own it.
Yeah.
Just think
Yeah.
about it that way. And your kids can go in and they can take 13 books if they want to take them out for a couple of weeks. So
And when you look at what those books can do, it's priceless. It's like you spend this much
it,
money to have the
absolutely.
book, but the idea that it puts in some person's head, who knows where that goes? Like that's
Yes.
worth a lot. Very exciting. This is a personal question here. What is your favorite thing to do at the library? Like, what do you do when you go to the library?
Well, my favorite thing is just very old fashioned. it's it is looking up something, going to the stacks, and maybe you're looking for biography or some
Mhm.
something historical. And then you're in that section and you just shop right there, or, it's going into the literature section and you're looking for one author and it's not quite there, or maybe there's something that's there you weren't, I love that part. It's the serendipitous part of going to the library, which
Yeah.
is very lovely.
Fun. I love the old periodicals. I love looking at like
Uh-huh. Oh, I
the
bet you do.
old
Uh-huh.
newspapers and stuff like that that you can't find online. There's stuff you can't find online and you can find it at the library.
Yes,
Good.
that's right. Um, the Humboldt room at the main branch. I don't know, Aaron, if you've had a chance to visit the Humboldt room. It's
Love
just
it.
and
Love it.
Humboldters love to write about themselves. I remember the former county librarian told me that. We have a lot of books they love to write about
That
themselves.
feels right. I mean, when it's
Yeah.
pouring rain outside,
We have a
you're all
lot, we
alone.
have a big history.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
there's a lot to say for sure.
and there's school yearbooks, and old telephone
Yeah.
books, things that, yeah, it's
I learned that the
fascinating.
Humboldt College debate team there goes back to 1926 in the Humboldt room, which is pretty cool information to have there.
Yeah.
This is sometimes controversial. People don't like paying bonds and levies and taxes. I am a big supporter, but what would you tell listeners out there who don't understand why the community would sustain a library? Why do we spend our public money on this, or why should we?
Well, I guess I'll explain first that the Humboldt County Library is part of the county of Humboldt, but it is a dedicated property tax revenue stream. So it comes on your property tax bill. It's not what they would call a general fund department. So it was a decision that voters made here in Humboldt County decades ago. So we're all the beneficiaries. So I think the benefit, as we've been talking, is pretty obvious in terms of public education and having an informed democracy. It's also a place for people um, who are less privileged than some of us who can access information for free. If you've been into the main or any of the libraries, they have those public computers. Not everyone has a laptop. Not everyone has that opportunity to be hooked up to the world in that regard. And so it really provides equal opportunity, and that is the point, isn't it? Equal access. Yeah, so important.
This is 96.7 FM. You are listening to the Civic Union. We're talking to the former board president and founding board member of the Humboldt Library Foundation, Liz Murguia. You can call or even text us here at the studio on the campus of the College of the Redwoods, the number 707 498 4146. You can send us your thoughts. You can email us, the Civic Union, that's all one word, the Civic Union at gmail.com. Send questions that you have, and we'll get going into the conversation here if we can. In the meantime, Liz, really appreciate your backstory, just kind of telling us what got you involved in some of this work. And now we'd like to pivot to talk just more specifically about the Humboldt Library Foundation itself. You mentioned already that there's like 13 members and you have a couple of different like fundraising things that you do. Just give us an idea of what the board structure looks like. Like, how does it work?
Okay, well, as I said, we're an all-volunteer board. We have a part-time employee, an executive assistant who helps us, but it is very much a working board. And we raise, well, it's hard to say. I mean, we raise of 150,000, maybe $200,000 a year, just depending. But we have four major fundraising campaign efforts. One is you can become a board sponsor, and that's a letter we send out to our donors and to others. And so that every year that goes out in February, and people send money in with the understanding that the funds that we're raising are then to benefit the library, because we then, of course, make grants from the funds that we raise. We grant money back to the library. We have a buy a book campaign, and we solicit funds for that, and that's also on our website. And we encourage people to sign up to make a monthly donation. That for as little as $10 a month, you can be contributing to helping buy purchase materials to support the library. And then we have our major gala every year, where we honor someone in the community as well for their extraordinary support for the public library. And so we combine that, as I said, with a gala, and we have sponsorships. We have an auction, and that's a very fun event, always in December, in the first week of December. We've been fortunate to have State Senator Mike Murguia be our auctioneer. If you haven't been to an event where Mike is the auctioneer, you haven't lived. It is quite fun. he really rallies the troops, and we've raised a lot of funds, and it's great for him, of course, to take. We appreciate him taking his time to come do that. He's quite dedicated to libraries, I think, around the district, and to lots of other things in the community.
Did it take time to kind of grow the board? As a member of boards of directors, especially all volunteer boards of directors, you just never know what you're going to get, and it can be hard to be
Well,
self-sustaining
we
in that
fill it,
capacity.
and then we have terms of office. We don't have term limits. We were given very good advice, actually, I think, when we first formed, that especially in a small foundation like ours, you have people who are really dedicated and committed to it, and there's not really a need for term limits if people are on and enjoying doing it. So anyway, that just happens to be our particular structure. Some do not.
Yeah.
So the terms are for 4 years, sorry. And we meet once a month. And committees, it's a standard kind of private nonprofit structure where you have committees dedicated to certain issues, and they meet and plan for that and pursue it. We have one annual board retreat where we get together and talk for 4 or 5 hours and figure out what we're going to do for the next year.
Do you go anywhere fun for that at least?
No, God, no, we don't.
Yeah.
The dollars that we raise in this community stay in this community. No, we have a very low overhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, lean. We meet in a boardroom upstairs in the library, which is quite beautiful, overlooking the bay. That's great.
That's not too bad.
A very nice meeting room.
That's cool.
But what I haven't talked about, so we also have, we've built what we call a legacy circle. And we have encouraged people to give to the legacy circle. And we have nearly 50 people in the community now who have indicated some who are passed, but who have made a planned gift to the Library Foundation to help us. As I mentioned earlier, a desire we have, part of our mission is to build a fund to fund the library in perpetuity, ideally, that you would be sitting on enough money in your endowment fund that you could then generate funds in perpetuity. And so we haven't yet expended out of that. But in 26 years, it's taken a long time. The numbers are, we've made grants back to the library over that period, close to $2 million. We have now built an endowment fund with some donor advised funds, which I can explain about as well.
Yeah.
We have donor advised funds, but we have over $1 million there now at this point. And so we're pretty proud of that effort.
Absolutely.
Just a handful of volunteers, people, we feel we don't pay anyone to help us raise money and that kind of thing. We're doing it on our own.
One of the questions I have, and you may not have this information, is the bulk of your donations like small gifts from local people? Is it spread across large organizations? Does it
no,
change over
it's all
time?
individual contributions
Wow.
and some businesses, of course,
Sure.
but we solicit. So
That's
anywhere
great.
from
Wow.
somebody sends us $5 a month, and that is terrific.
Yep.
And we have donors who, are happy to give us $5,000 a year or more. And then we've had bequests. Have received bequests before in the 6-figure mark. So that is a really nice thing. But anyway, we accept all gifts. It's across the board. Well, if you have a special project going on, you might try to raise grant funds for a special project, which would be different, where we would go to other local organizations.
I'm kind of a nerd. What kind of committees do you have? Like, what are the issues that you all break into to talk about?
Well, um, we have the public relations committee. We have a nominations committee. We have something called resources committee, which then really is about developing the resources. They're in charge of the letters, making sure our letters get out, and targeting that part of the fundraising goal. And then virtually everyone is a member of the gala committee. We kind of laugh about that because when we recruit board members as well, you're just expected in the end, because that's our largest fundraiser and takes the most work. Everyone becomes a member of the gala committee, and that takes a lot of planning and a lot of effort. We have a nominations, I mentioned that, and also a plan giving as well.
That's
I
cool.
think
You
that's it.
you learn
So
a little bit about administrative structure when you see those little bones. I dig it. That's fun.
yeah, yeah. So I think it's not uncommon how we do it, but that's how we do it, and
Yeah.
meet as we need. And of course, an executive committee who meets when they need to, and usually
Right.
once a month, and to plan what's going on.
What does it take to get involved with the board? How often are the openings? What would someone do if they wanted to do that?
Well, so we keep a list of people that are interested, and we're always trying to recruit so that when we do have an opening, we at least have people we can reach back into the community to talk with about whether they might be interested. And so right now we don't have any openings, but we do from time to time for sure. And so it's a pretty active process. One of the things, we're interested in recruiting younger members to our board. We're like many nonprofits in the community. Succession planning is a big part of what you're doing, um, which is, one of the reasons why after 27 years, I thought I could step down. I don't need to be president for life. My husband said, like Imelda Marcos, but anyway, you know, so if you are interested, I don't mean to make light of it. We're always interested in people who are supportive of the library and want to help out and want to know more about us. And you could look on our website. You can send a note to us through the website. Just reach out and say you're interested, and we will get back to you, or leave a message on the answering machine, and we would call right back for sure and talk with you about being on the board. And we also have community volunteers who help us out at the gala. So that's something you wouldn't have to be on full board. But if you like working on that kind of thing, we always need help as well in there.
The phone number is 707-269-1991. 707-269-1991. Humboldt Library Foundation, all one word, .org. There's a contact tab there you can find. Very easy. And it just lets you send them a little email. Tell me you might be interested. Do you have to be on the board to participate in committees? You said there's volunteer stuff, and that's probably more like around the
We don't
margin stuff.
that Yeah, that is how our structure is. Yes.
Typical.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
curious. Yeah. Sometimes you
Um,
can have non-members on committees. Never know. So
you
cool.
know, and maybe later there are other opportunities to volunteer for the library. So I can talk about that later if you'd like. But
Yeah, throw us some of those right now. Any of those come to mind? What kind of opportunities
well,
are there?
there are a couple of ways. One is that the library itself um, has volunteers, people who can come and help um, check in books, not check in books. I talked with Chris, I should add. They can sell books, they help price and evaluate. No, they stock shelves, I guess. That's what it would be. They need volunteers in the Humboldt room. So anyway, you would reach out to the library itself, the Humboldt County Library, and any one of the division managers, and they recruit for their sections. It could be reading story hours, going in and helping out with the kids, special programs that are happening, and there are clubs and that kind of thing happening. So you could contact the library. Secondarily, as I mentioned earlier, the Friends of the Library, and each branch has a Friends of the Library, and then there's the big one we call it, at Friends of the Redwood Library. And they have a lot of volunteers. They're the ones who hold the book sales. They have the Serendipity bookstore at the main branch. If you haven't ever been into that, have you been there, Aaron, to go
No, not
shopping?
yet. No,
Oh
not
my
yet.
goodness, that is worth a visit. Trust me.
Making a note.
Yeah, that's wonderful. But so, and when people give books to the library to set, for as a contribution, the friends are the ones who handle all of that. They bring them in, assess, and the librarians go through what they can use for the library. Otherwise, then they price and they sell online and sell in their bookstore and then have their famous book sales, the buck a bag books, which as an
Trouble.
aside, often those books may end up back at the friends.
It's the
People
circle
go
of
home
life,
with a
we call
bag.
that.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is a circle of life.
It's like the water
So,
circle, but with books.
yeah, so there are, of course, many opportunities, I think, to volunteer if you are interested in library work for sure.
Can never get enough help moving books. I move books a lot for my job, and every time I have to move books, I tell people I'm reminded that they're made out of wood. They're just big blocks of wood, and they're heavy, and
That's
I
right.
need help every time because they're heavy. Yeah. What kind of community feedback do you accept? How do people get a hold of you if they have feedback and want you to? I mean, we've talked
Well, the
about
same way on our
this way. Yeah.
website, on the
Okay.
website, and to leave a phone message or drop a note. There's that
Cool.
old fashioned way. You can put a note in the mail with a stamp
Yeah, that works. Yeah, the P.O. Box
to P.O.
440.
Box.
There
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, P.O. Box 440, Eureka, California. If you're one of those old-fashioned mail using people, we just put a new mailbox in our yard, so we're trying to get back into that, I guess. I don't know. What's the
I do.
biggest?
I
Yeah,
believe in it. Yeah.
that's good. I think letter writing is an important art that people need to get back into. I say nostalgically. I don't know. What's the
Well,
biggest?
I've been having correspondences throughout my life with, childhood friend, for instance. So we write. Yeah, I believe in it for sure.
Nothing like getting a letter. Love that in the mailbox. Very cool. What's the biggest challenge that our libraries are facing right now?
Well, the biggest challenge, I guess Chris would probably say right now in terms of um, challenges for the library that recruiting it's countywide in terms of recruiting the workforce. It's really a challenge at this point. I think all the county departments face that, and so he has some professional positions that he's been trying to recruit for and having a hard time to fill. So that's a challenge for him. But the bigger challenge and one that is always on my list is that I think the library should be open more hours. And anyone who's here understands that. I think that is always the number one, that people want them to be open more hours, and they have not been ever since, I don't know, for the last 30 years. I've been waiting for them to open more hours. Well, looks like there might be some slight possibility that they could be in the next year or so. Um, right now, the main is open, I think, 32 hours a week, 35 hours a week. Ideally, your library would be open 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
would add back in Monday and Sunday. It used to be, yeah, it used to be. And
Yeah,
so, that's a big challenge, and that's a resource question. Of course, that's a funding question.
for sure.
Um, the other a challenge, I think, for the branches, if you're out in the hinterlands in Humboldt County. I mean, it would be really nice if Willow Creek had a new branch.
Mhm.
It would. We've done some great upgrades in Garberville, and that is really terrific. And Blue Lake is back open and doing some things there. That's terrific. But new facilities, new construction is a challenge for sure.
That's true everywhere up here, I feel like.
Well,
Um,
it is across the state. As I said, I sit on the state library board, and trust me, the need is huge around the state.
oh wow.
Yeah,
We'll dig
it's
into
not
that next.
unique to us. Yeah.
Curious to hear more about that next. You said that like recruiting is one of the things that you're struggling with. What kinds of people are they looking for? Like what's the kind of person that would be showing up to fill some of these gaps that you think they need there at the
Well,
library?
first of all, to have an interest in the public library, have it really be a part of how you identify yourself. I mean, in your value system for sure. Um, we're looking for someone who would have some economic background, financial services background, but also who's been involved in other organizations and can reach out, um, and broaden our particular. We've been growing our list, we call it, our, of contributors. We're always trying to grow that. And so people who come from another aspect of the community, that's a really a terrific asset to bring onto the board. We, in other communities of interest, I guess, that we could use, anybody who, trying to think, all these boards, we're all looking for the same thing, aren't we? People who are really interested and want to give up their time. Mostly
Right.
it's that, and have a passion for it and are willing to do the work. That's what we're looking for. Yeah, that's what we're
Cool.
looking for.
You're listening to the Civic Union on KZZH 96.7 FM. And tonight we're talking to the former board president and one of the founding board members of the Humboldt Library Foundation, Liz Murguia. Liz, just really appreciate this conversation that we're having in terms of just how the board is structured there at the Library Foundation and some of your background. Now we just kind of want to talk a little bit about the big picture, if that makes sense. Um, the Humboldt Library Foundation, you said, facilitates operations at 10 branch libraries and 14 rural communities served by Bookmobile.
That's the county library system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
County
That's the
library
county
system.
library
That's not the
system.
foundation.
Okay.
We just support the county library system. Yeah.
Right. And just like you mentioned it a little bit at the top, but just to refresh people or catch people up maybe that weren't here for the opening, like in what ways does the Humboldt Library Foundation work with those particular groups or organizations?
Well, we raise funds in the community and then make grants back to the county library annually. And so at this point, we are, through our fundraising effort, we are able to grant back to the library, 150 or so $1,000 a year is what we're doing now. Then the library makes an application to us. They have different areas that they would programs and that they need support for. As an aside, I don't think I mentioned that we provide about 60% of the library's books and materials budget every year.
Wow.
So that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
They receive funding as well, a smaller amount from the Friends, and then they also some direct donations that come to them. But that is the materials, books and materials budget.
Wow. So for folks
So
that care a lot about the library, this is a pretty integral foundation, it sounds like.
it is. We have provided essentially the book budget and the majority of the book budget now for, 27 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
for
newsletter
sure.
that you sent me said that, and you just mentioned it, that you've made over $100,000 grant available in 2023. How quickly are those funds spent, and what kinds of things do they go towards? You said that they can write applications to get some of that money. Just if you can, give us a little bit of an idea what that looks like.
Well, as I said, the majority of the grant funds we make really go for books and materials, and they
Sure.
come into us with a budget. It's pretty automatic, maybe 75,000 or so for books and materials. And then on top of that, they, they might have a specialized project they want to go for. That last year, I know they decided they needed extra funds and they wanted to create that new manga section of the collection, which was very exciting for
Mm.
young adults. And so that was really great to expand that whole section. And so they will come to us with that, with special requests. I'm trying to think. One of the things we just did, it was pretty exciting a year plus ago now, because it's taken a while. We raised $50,000 for the library to purchase a cargo van for a brand new project, which will be a brand new program, which will be unveiled in September, the Library at Your Door.
Hmm.
And this is specifically for, this is not a bookmobile. This is to deliver books to people with transportation challenges. That could be the homebound. It could be people who don't have access to public transportation or live too far away from their branch. They're going to be able then to essentially go online, order up books, and have the books delivered. So this is something we are very excited about, and is something we wanted to have happen for quite a while. And so we're pleased that that's finally happening.
That's really a tremendous service. I think that
Yes, it'll be
like not
bright and it'll
everyone
be
can get,
new. Yeah.
yeah, not everyone can get to the library, especially not in rural areas that are super dispersed. So that sounds like it
Yeah.
could be really
So
meaningful.
initially, it will just be within the immediate Bay Area. We're not going to be able to
Sure,
go out to the
sure,
hinterlands, but
but could work its
Fortuna,
way out.
Eureka, Arcata, that area, then.
Mhm.
So anyway, you can imagine. I think that'll be very exciting. I know the
Uh,
library is very excited about it as well.
We were talking a little earlier. You'd mentioned that in 1991, you were the California delegate to the White House Conference on Libraries in Washington, D.C. And I'd kind of picked your brain a little bit about that. And you said that one of the things that came up back then in 1991 was like the role of technology within the libraries. And here we are in 2024. And my question to you is, what are your thoughts on the role of technology here for libraries? Like, how do y'all respond to that?
Well, the irony in 1991, it was just a very big subject. And they were they were testing out all this equipment and it essentially failed. And we ended up doing everything by paper and,
Yep.
which was just, yeah, it just didn't work.
Looking at all
But
the airlines after this recent like crash that everything. Anyways, okay. It's always good to know how to do it
well,
on paper.
libraries are really the entrance point for that as well. I mean, they
Hmm.
haven't, libraries, their purpose and importance have only grown, I think, in this technology world for sure. And so we've seen a big change, as I think I may have alluded to during the pandemic. Our own library system, their ability or their resources just exploded. We actually, at the foundation, just took our money and really funded a lot of those efforts for them to beef up their ability to provide more e-resources for the community at large.
Hmm.
Uh, so that was very exciting, and it's kind of limitless, right? It certainly is. As I said, you can through your library, you can take a free language course. You can look at databases from around. You can access the New York Times now. You
Yeah.
can, there's magazines, lots of things happening there at the library electronically. That's very important. And also for people who are, as we say, for lifelong learners, and also for people who are trying to develop their job skills.
Hmm.
The county works, they provide special programming in that regard as well, and work with the other county offices in terms of employment and helping to train people.
I love the idea that libraries typically, I don't know, in particular about the locals, but they'll have a lot of older technology. You'll be able, like I said, you'll be able to find a lot of like old periodicals
Oh,
that haven't been digitized, or you'll be able to find things on like microfilm, or you'll find the
microfiche.
VHS. Yeah, right. Like I love that stuff. And it's not just because I like turning the little knobs, it's because again, there's just wisdom there, there's knowledge and information that has like become obsolete technology wise,
Hmm.
but it's as important as ever, and the library is the place to go to access
Absolutely.
that stuff. And I think it's cool that the library both has to be on the forefront, but at the same time they got to have that old VHS player there, and
Yeah.
I don't know, that's neat. um
Yeah, it is. It's a wonderful thing.
Oh, that's a good question. Nate wants to know, like, are there any resources for content creators, for things like kids? I know that like the Humboldt Library at the university lets you like rent things like microphones and stuff. Is that something that our local libraries
Well,
do?
that isn't happening. And I just talked with our county librarian about it. I know one of the things we're looking at perhaps this year to fund, the opportunity maker space. lots of libraries around. These are programs for kids where they can come in and support for STEM programming.
Mm,
Right now, we don't really have that. We have some
right.
clubs happening that's bringing kids in. There's a Lego club, a chess club.
Mm.
Um, Amazingly, kids are playing board games.
Yes. Big board
It's a really
gamer
fun
here.
thing to walk in the library on a
Yeah.
Wednesday evening, and there they are, and sitting in the in the large meeting room
Yep.
playing
I
board
love
games.
board games, and it's hard to find people to play sometimes. That's awesome.
Well, you can find your community at your local
Absolutely.
library. I'm
This
here
is
to tell you.
definitely a
Mhm.
chance for me to say that Access Humboldt provides a lots of content creator things if folks out there are interested. The library is a great place to go, but here at the College of the Redwoods campus, Access Humboldt gives you literally a cable television studio if you want, and all of that. So check us out here
That's
at
very
Access Humboldt.
exciting what you
Yeah.
have there. Yes, I was
Yeah.
on that tour some
Oh,
years ago.
cool. Cool,
Yeah,
cool.
for the
I've been doing
television.
more of it, and this new space I think could has just tons of potential. So I'm excited about it too. This hour is flying by. We're running out of time. I want to make sure we have a little bit of time to talk about the Book a Month Club. You said that folks can buy books to commemorate like friends or to just simply help out.
That's
What?
right.
How's that work?
We encourage people to make a donation in memory or in honor of someone. Maybe it's your sister-in-law and she has more stuff than she could ever use. And so you can make a contribution to the library in her name and her book, and there will be a book plate in the book. And it will say then this contribution was made in honor of Mary Smith.
Hmm.
And so we have lots of people who do that in memoriam as well, make contributions. And then, as we say, the library, we give them the list of people who've made those donations. And when they purchase the books, they put the bookmark, the book plate in the front of the book, which is a very nice way. And so um, we have, again, the buy a book a month club, we're calling it. And you can do that for as little as $10 a month and then indicate who you would like that your book plate to be dedicated to.
Hmm. One of my
So
favorite
that,
things about
yeah,
books is they come with a little library card sometimes that tells you who checked it out, and it's just always neat
oh,
when there's little names in the books. And I just love this book plate idea that comes with a little tag, like someone helped you get this book.
yeah. Oh
That's
my
beautiful.
goodness. Well, you would have been one of those like me that you didn't want that electronic catalog,
No,
when they had to give up the,
no, I want the
no, no.
card with the stamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna
They
sound
they
old.
have kept them in the main upstairs. They're artifacts,
Yeah.
those.
Oh
You can
boy.
go, you can ask for a tour and see one.
Kids these days don't understand how cool that card was. What are you gonna do? What about this gala? It's early, but I'm telling people that August does this weird thing where it turns into September and then it becomes October, and before you
And then
know
it's
it,
December.
yeah, December is here. So talk to us about this holiday gala. What do y'all do for that?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, our annual holiday gala where we honor someone in the community who's been extraordinarily supportive of the libraries. This year, we're honoring Nancy and Vern Frost. Nancy is a former library board member, but also was in the social service. I can't remember now. In Humboldt, up at Humboldt State, former professor at Humboldt State dealing with children's services. I think she was also on the first five commission. In any event, so we honor someone. We have dinner, we have music, we have nice and easy jazz plays for us as a little aside. They have played at every holiday gala since the very beginning for
Hmm.
free. They contribute their services, which is so generous.
Yeah.
um, and we have an auction, a live and silent auction. And so stay tuned for more information about that. This year it's going to be December 6th, I believe, although, it will be on our website. And there's an opportunity to I should have had that out. I don't have it right in front of me. Unfortunately, the levels of giving,
Right.
well, go to our website.
Right.
There is
Humboldt.
an opportunity, yeah, for sure, to contribute. And it sells out. We're always at maximum capacity. It's kind of quite the thing to do. We're glad
Hmm.
about that.
That's cool. Where does it happen?
What happens over at the Sequoia Conference Center?
Ooh,
Yeah, it's very nice venue. Works
that's where the
very well.
Union Gala was, and that worked pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah. No, Yeah, it's a very nice gala. We before were at other places where we were really confined, but we're glad to be move on to this area. So as I said, it's a catered dinner with music. There's drinks, an auction, and we honor a special person.
What kind of stuff at the auction? Just your basic local like businesses donating things or any
Yes,
cool
and we have
library?
art, of course,
Cool.
and we have art, places to stay. We have beautiful local woodworkers who usually give us pieces of furniture to auction off. Um, we'll have wine, of course, vacation options, an Airbnb here or someone's vacation home. Um, so it's all quite interesting and fun, and people love to do it.
Yeah, you said that the community has raised like as much as like $2 million here in the area just through the foundation for the library system. That's just really
Well,
cool.
we've
So,
probably raised more than that, actually, probably 4 million. We've given
wow.
2 million away,
Right.
and we have, a million plus sitting in our endowment. So,
Mm,
we're moving
that's very
along,
cool.
I think.
Well, if folks want to learn more, they can go to the Humboldt Library Foundation.org. That's all one word, Humboldt Library Foundation.org. The phone number is 707-269-1991. You can also just send a piece of paper folded up in an envelope with a stamp to P.O. Box 440, Eureka, California, 95502-0440 if you have to put all that on there. Liz, thank you so much
I
for taking the time. Go
we
ahead.
just met, I would be remiss if I did not mention that we have a Facebook
Oh,
page, the
good.
Humboldt
Yeah.
Library Foundation
Get that on
Facebook
there.
page. Please go look. We also then feature supporters, which is great. You can see your neighbor and they little testimonial about why they give and support the Library Foundation. So
Cool.
um, yeah,
I left the social medias, but you're right. That's a place a lot of people go. So check them out on
it
Facebook too,
is.
for
Yeah.
sure. Cool. Well, this has been the Civic Union, a collaboration between KZZH Access Humboldt and the Department of Communication Studies at Cal Poly Humboldt, uniting the people of the county with their representative government and community helpers. Once again, I'd like to thank Liz Murguia for joining us. Thanks also to my producer, Nate Dogg. Have you missed any of our prior shows? Well, good news. He's put them all on YouTube. That's at the Civic Union over there. Check it out. We've been running for almost a year now, and there's just a ton to learn about the folks who make our community hum. We will be back next month, 6 p.m. Monday, September the 2nd. We're going to be talking to Juan Pablo Cervantes with the Office of the Registrars about the upcoming election. So that's going to be very, very cool. You won't want to miss it. Right here on 96.7 FM Eureka. Do you know someone that we could talk to? Send us an email. That's the civicunion@gmail.com. Up next, certified animal behaviorist Charlotte Peltz gives you tips, tricks, and tools to make it work with the roommate who does the dishes with their mouth. It's living with your dog. Right here on 96.7 KZZH. That's Access Humboldt. Local voices through community media.